Hello, everyone. You're listening to Psychology Outside the Box. The internet is full of psychology wannabes and posers who are trying to replace me. Well, it's payback time. My name is Dr. Flower. I have a PhD in psychology, so I'm not a wannabe or a knockoff. I've been teaching college and university courses for 20 years. Psychology is a vast field that connects to many things in your life. If you have a curious mind, you're definitely in the right place. This podcast will be interesting and informative, fun but factual. I will open your mind to new ideas and new ways of thinking. So sit back and enjoy the ride. Have you decided what you're having for lunch today? Have you ever tried fried animal brain? Pork, beef, or goat? Brain is very popular in some countries and is sold as fast food in local restaurants. Pieces are rolled in a batter of eggs and breadcrumbs. Then spices are added just before they are deep fried until golden brown and crispy. So make sure you know exactly what you are ordering when traveling outside North America. My mind is disgusted, but my stomach has a different opinion, reminding me that deep fried foods are always so very delicious. And so I am sickened by this, but also just a little bit curious. Come on, I dare you to try it. I double dare you. I will try it if you will, or else just try eating a lemon while showing no weird facial expression. Several years ago, there was a viral video claiming that cell phone radiation can actually cook popcorn. OMG, that's nuts! We are cooking our brains. We are all in danger. Run away. Run for your lives, but leave your phone behind. Your phone is a killer. The popcorn video is cute and entertaining, but that's never going to happen. So what's really causing the kernels to pop? Patience, my lovely listeners, patience. If cell phones do fry our brains, then why doesn't our head explode like fireworks? If phones emitted that much energy, your fingers would heat up and it would hurt like crazy. You would have to wear oven mitts to protect yourself. Very difficult to text your friends wearing oven mitts. I dare you to try it. Okay, I promise that's my last dare challenge for this podcast. Almost all North American adults, adolescents, and many children own a cell phone of some kind. The widespread use of cell phones makes it very important to identify any harmful effect. When on a call, we usually hold our cell phones right next to our ears and very close to our brains. So the main concern has been whether phones might cause or contribute to tumors in this area. Can cell phone radiation damage brain cells or cause brain cancer? The evidence to date suggests that cell phone use does not cause brain or other kinds of cancer in humans. This conclusion is supported by the American Cancer Society, the National Cancer Institute, and other international organizations. First, I want to give you some basic information about what causes cancer, and then explain why cell phones are very unlikely to have any harmful effects. Cancer is a leading cause of death globally, accounting for more than 10 million deaths every year. Cancer has been around for thousands of years, but is much more common in the modern age. Cancer always is due to some degree of alteration in the DNA of cells in the human body. These are called mutations. Some mutations are harmless, but others may cause cancer. It is well known that we must stop some things such as smoking to decrease our risk of getting cancer. But it is not as well known that each time a normal cell divides and copies its DNA to produce a new cell, it can make mistakes. Every day, more than 50 billion cells in your body die and will be replaced. And of course, this happens smoothly and all your bodily functions continue without interruption. It's a beautifully organized process, and it all happens without our conscious awareness. It is our body completely on autopilot. Every time a cell duplicates, all of its DNA is transferred to the new cell. Almost always, cell duplication happens perfectly, exactly how it is supposed to. But sometimes there are simple copying errors that are introduced into the DNA, like making small errors in a text message that you send to a friend. So normal or healthy cells in our body may become cancer cells because of damage to DNA. When DNA gets damaged, the cell either repairs the damage or else the cell dies. But sometimes the damaged DNA isn't repaired and the cell doesn't die like it should. If abnormal cells with damaged DNA survive, they may begin to duplicate. These new cells all have the same damaged DNA as the original cell does. So cancer cells are like criminals. They don't follow the rules. If given the chance, they will duplicate forever. In many cases, the cancer cells become extensive enough to form a tumor, also called a mass or a lump. So all cancers are due to changes or alterations in the DNA of healthy cells. The majority of mutations are due to copying errors in our own body. Many mutations are completely harmless, but others may develop into cancer. So cancer often strikes people who follow all the rules of healthy living: non-smoker, healthy diet, healthy weight, and have no family history of the disease. But some mutations are the result of DNA damage from external factors, including sunlight, cigarette smoke, and radiation. Stopping smoking completely is the very best thing you can do. It's not too late. What do you mean you can't do it? Yes, you can. Any cancers that may develop as a result of radiation exposure are indistinguishable from those that occur naturally or as a result of exposure to other substances. So when cancer does happen, it may be impossible to determine the actual cause. For most people, the word radiation is really frightening because we really don't understand it. Depending on your generation, the word radiation may remind you of either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or maybe the atomic bomb, as in the recent biographical movie about Robert Oppenheimer, who is known as the father of the atomic bomb. The general term used by scientists is electromagnetic radiation, sometimes called the electromagnetic spectrum. You may be getting some flashbacks about high school physics class, or maybe it's just your post-traumatic stress. Look on the bright side. At least it's not calculus. And I promise this will not be on the test. Of course there will be a test. How else will I know if you've learned anything and whether you should pass or fail? The human body is bombarded with low doses of radiation throughout the day. Electromagnetic radiation is everywhere, but comes in many different forms. Fortunately, most types of radiation are invisible and completely safe. The vast majority of electromagnetic waves are either too long or too short for humans to see. Our eyes can only see a very narrow band of electromagnetic waves called the visible spectrum or visible light. Types of radiation only differ from each other in wavelength and also energy level. The wavelength can be very long, as big as buildings, or very short, much smaller than the size of an atom. From longest to shortest, they are as follows: radio waves, microwaves, infrared light, visible lights such as from a light bulb, ultraviolet light, X-rays, and gamma rays. We are directly aware only of visible light. The rest are out of sight and usually out of mind. Gamma rays have the very shortest wavelength and also the most powerful form of radiation. In real life, you would die instantly if exposed to a large dose of gamma rays. Oh, but not in the Marvel Comics universe. You may be familiar with the Incredible Hulk. Mild-mannered Bruce Banner is exposed to gamma radiation in his lab. The gamma rays mutate his DNA and cause him to transform into the Hulk whenever he's angry. As for the biggest mystery about the Hulk, why do his pants stay on while the rest of his clothes are ripped to shreds when he is transformed into the Hulk? Ionizing radiation has shorter wavelengths but also more energy, allowing them to penetrate deeply into people and objects. Such radiation can knock electrons around inside the human body like a bowling ball crashing into bowling pins. This alters the atoms in living things and produces mutations which may lead to cancer. Light from the sun has three components: infrared radiation, visible light, and also ultraviolet rays. Visible light is what we can see during a sunny day. Infrared and UV rays are invisible to humans, but they definitely exist. Many other animals can see UV rays, including butterflies, bees, reindeer, some birds, and also some fish species. So sunlight is the main source of UV rays, which are a form of ionizing radiation. This means that they can alter DNA and produce skin cancer or melanoma. Certain medical procedures such as X-rays, CT scans, PET scans, and radiation therapy can also cause cell damage that leads to cancer. However, the risks of cancer from these medical procedures are considered to be very small, and the benefit from having them is almost always greater. The mobile phone system works like a two-way radio and includes the individual handset and the base stations. Base stations' antennae are mounted high off the ground on a tower or roof to get the widest coverage. A mobile phone has a radio receiver and a transmitter. Cell phones send signals to and receive them from nearby cell towers using RF waves, or radio frequency waves. Radio waves fill our world. They may have wavelengths anywhere from 10 up to 1,000 meters, and so can be quite enormous in size. Radio waves can easily go through walls and can even be absorbed by our body. The good news is that these large waves are quite harmless to humans and so pose no risk. They don't even tickle. If it did tickle, we would be laughing all the time because we are surrounded by these waves wherever we go. Ionizing radiation can break the chemical bonds in DNA, which might lead to cancer. But cell phones give off non-ionizing radiation, which is not strong enough to influence the structure of atoms or to damage DNA. RF waves are very different from stronger ionizing types of radiation like X-rays or gamma rays. At very high levels, RF waves can heat up body tissues, but the levels of energy given off by cell phones are much lower and are not enough to raise temperatures in the body.
So why does my ear get warm when I'm on my cell phone?
When your phone and ear gets hot, it's because of the battery and thermal insulation of the phone. The increase in temperature is not due to RF waves emitted by the phone itself. 80% of the absorbed RF radiation comes from holding the phone close to your ear. As for other smartphone uses, sending text messages, taking photos, using apps, these involve almost no radiation exposure to the brain. 5G networks and the phones that use them operate on higher frequencies and wavelengths. But the newer 5G signals still use RF waves, so they are still forms of non-ionizing radiation. Cell phones have been widely used for almost 30 years, since the 1990s. Fortunately, we haven't seen any increase in brain cancer rates, which would have happened by now if there was a major risk in cell phone use. So far, international research has found no convincing evidence that cell phones are damaging to health in the short or long term.
What about the scary headline from a few years ago that linked cell phone use to cancer?
Oh, you mean the research by National Toxicology Program in the United States. The researchers studied about 3,000 mice and rats, exposing them to varying doses of cell phone radiation for virtually their entire lifespans, from when they were in the womb until old age. According to results released in 2018, male rats given high doses of cell phone radiation had a higher risk of a type of cancer in the nerves surrounding the heart. But this result did not appear for female rats, male mice, or female mice, only for male rats. So that is very puzzling. In addition, rats exposed to cell phone signals lived longer, than rats not exposed. This suggests a beneficial effect. That is also very puzzling. Overall, the results were confusing and contradictory. There was a flurry of debate for a while, but after the media frenzy faded and the dust settled, none of the major agencies in the U.S. or internationally changed their positions about cancer risk and cell phone use. Basically, this research was considered a false alarm by most experts. Science never stops. The possible association between cell phone use and cancer risk, especially among long-term users of cell phones, does warrant further study, and so research will definitely continue into the future. Is there a conspiracy and cover-up related to cell phone dangers, as occurred with the tobacco industry in the 1940s? If you check my bank account, you will see no large, suspicious deposits. I have not been paid off by the cell phone industry, so the conclusion is that cell phones pose no danger. Well, not exactly. It has been clearly shown that people using cell phones while driving are far more likely to be involved in accidents, anywhere from twice up to 10 times greater risk. So cell phones can sometimes be dangerous to your health while you're driving, but they will not give you brain cancer. So what about the video showing that cell phones can cause popcorn kernels to explode? Won't your brain cells pop like these kernels of corn? Cooking popcorn with cell phones is impossible, and the same goes for cooking eggs. Yes, I tried it myself, just in case the laws of physics have suddenly changed in this part of the universe. It just doesn't work. The original video was edited and faked. It was actually part of an advertising campaign. So here's how they did it. First, set the kernels on the table, then set some cell phones around it, then dial those cell phones, wait a bit, then, while the cell phones are ringing, drop some popcorn from above onto the table. Then later on, edit out the kernels with Photoshop or something similar. It works perfectly every time. The title of the YouTube video is Popcorn with Cell Phones, in case you really want to check it out yourself. And also think about this. What if cell phones did actually put you at much higher risk of getting brain cancer? Would you give up your phone? You might also ask the millions of people across North America and the world who are still smokers, despite the overwhelming evidence that smoking produces lung cancer. Why are they still smoking? Because it's an addiction that is hard to stop. Using cell phones is certainly just as addictive as smoking.
How can I possibly leave my cell phone behind when it's my best friend in the whole world?
Quitting your cell phone might be impossible, even if there was a risk of brain cancer. So, don't believe everything you see. Certainly don't believe everything you hear. Lies always travel faster than the truth. Even half-truths are dangerous if you grab onto the wrong half. Well, all good things must come to an end, including this podcast. But in the words of the Terminator, I'll be back. And I hope you will too. If you enjoyed the podcast, please help me to attract more listeners by leaving a positive review. It would be truly awesome if you could follow Psychology Outside the Box on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, folks, it's all over for today. We're finished. We reached the end. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I will miss you so very much.